In this video, I am going to install GE Historian version 2022 in a single server instance with a calculation collector on the Historian server and a remote collector to collect OPC data from GE's IGS OPC server. In the upper right-hand side, you will see each step indicated, and on the lower right-hand side, you'll see which server we're installing software on. For the Historian data path, we will change this to the D drive. This will allow us to put the Historian data and log files on a drive that is separate from the operating system and large enough to house all of the historical data. In this video tutorial, I will be using the configuration hub, which is a part of the web-based clients, so we'll go ahead and select that. Other pieces also include the Historian's Trend client and the web administrator. This simple installation will not include security groups, but security groups would allow you to secure granular activities such as read, write, and Historian administration. We will install this as a single server, and we'll go ahead and install. At this point, we'll go ahead and reboot the server, and when we come back, we'll install the web-based clients. Now let's go ahead and install the web-based clients. These clients include Configuration Hub, which we'll be using, the Historian Trending application, as well as the web administrator. In the TC port assignments, I typically keep these as defaults, but as we know, sometimes we have to change those for IT. We'll leave the fully qualified domain name alone. We're not going to configure this as a cluster node. No need to check that box. And for the admin client secret, I try to put something relatively easy to remember, but I also document it. And I'm also going to put the same client secret here for the Configuration Hub installation. Make sure that the destination Historian server name is accurate, as this could be installed on a remote box. And let's go ahead and install. Now let's go ahead and install collectors on the Historian server. The installation has changed from previous versions quite a bit. This step is required on the Historian server and enables the Historian to add collectors. Collector installation and configuration will be available through Configuration Hub and Command Line for both remote and local collectors. Let's go ahead and change the data directory to the D drive to keep the collector buffer files and log files off of the operating system partition. Here, we'll first want to make sure that the Historian server name is correct, and then we need to provide a username and password that has local login rights to the Historian server. This will be used for the remote collector manager. Okay, that was quick and easy. At this point, the Historian software is completely installed on the server. After installation, and prior to remote collector installation, let's go to the Historian Administrator into the Data Stores tab and Security. Here, we're going to disable strict client and collector authentication. And on the Main tab, we'll take note that there are no collectors currently installed. Okay, on this box, the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is install the IGS server. We're going to need this OPC server anyway on this box, and it's a good place to start so that when we do install a collector, we can install an OPC collector and it'll be connected to this device. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and install the collector on the remote machine. Again, when we install collectors, this installation is a little unique. It doesn't install the collectors on the system unless you have iFix or Simplicity, and then it will automatically install OPC collectors for Simplicity and iFix native connectors for iFix. For the rest of the collectors, such as, for example, we're connecting to an IGS server, which means we're going to be installing the OPC collector, it will install the framework on this machine. And what that framework will do is connect to the main server through Configuration Hub, and it will allow you to remotely install a collector from that point. So let's go ahead and install the collectors. We'll go ahead and change the Prophecy Historian data path to D Prophecy Historian data. That's where I've got the collection and the information on a separate D drive so it doesn't affect the operating system. And here we want to make sure initially that we put in the server, the Historian server, in the very first field because it will default to the local box. And then we want to put our username and password. Okay, now the installation is successful. We'll go ahead and exit out of here. And what we'll do from here is we'll go ahead and look at the Historian server and check to see inside Configuration Hub if we can see this system and if we can install a collector from it. What you will notice on this IGS configuration is that nothing is really set up. So this is the default IGS server configuration with the channel 1 and device 1, a couple of tags, some simulation examples, and so on. So these are the tags we'll see on the Historian server. Okay, so let's go into Configuration Hub on the Historian server, continue to log in. We'll sign in, and on the Historian server itself, let's check out collectors. Obviously, we'll have the calculation collector that we installed previously, but we can go ahead and hit the plus sign. We'll select the machine name, IGS01. The collector type will be OPC. We'll get the details and note that the installation drive is C, the data directory is on the D drive. We'll select IGS as the OPC server. And we've got the Historian server and the correct server set up here. And let's just give it a good name here. We'll just make it shorter than that, IGS, and let it set up for a local account. And we'll go ahead and hit add. It takes a second, and then that server will show up. From here, we can't quite start that. That service, as installed, will be set up in manual mode. So we'll go ahead over to the other server and we'll take a look at that. All right, we're back at the IGS server. Let's go ahead and close the IGS itself. We can exit out of that. And what we want to do is go into the services control panel. And under Historian, we have really a couple. I had installed this once before, as you can see. Should have gotten rid of that, but I didn't. But this is the new one, OPC underscore IGS. And I like to have that as a delayed start and hit apply on that. Okay. And then we can go ahead and start that one here. And once we do, and we go back to the Historian server. Okay, so now we're back at the Historian server and we're inside Configuration Hub. And if we do a refresh, we should see that that service is running. And then additionally, if we want to go to the Historian Administrator, which I feel is a lot easier than the Tags Administrator here in Config Hub, inside here we can quickly see by adding tags from collector, we've got the OPC IGS, and then as expected we've got those couple of tags from device 1 and all those simulation tags here on the simulation examples. So that's how you go ahead and set up a collector on a remote system with the new Historian version 2022.